All right, are you guys excited for the Corona camps? Because that's what we're going to. If you didn't know, we now have the COVID-19 concentration camps. I didn't believe it at first. I saw this from Veronica P. Wolski on Twitter, the @WalesWarrior. She says, Tennessee now has COVID concentration camps. Hashtag the People's Bridge. And then there's a link, and it was broken, so I clicked the correct version of the link, and here's what you get. COVID-19 patient arrested after leaving fairgrounds quarantine, court records show. And this is published yesterday at 3:23 p.m. from the Nashville Tennessean. Story reads, the coronavirus patient was arrested Thursday after prosecutors said he jumped a fence and fled the Nashville fairgrounds, where health officials are using enforceable quarantines in an attempt to control an outbreak at an emergency homeless shelter. If you guys didn't know, in major cities all across the United States, and in St. Louis, and in Denver, in San Francisco and other places, they're rolling up all of the homeless encampments. 6 months ago, they were arguing that they need to be legally protected by the city. But now, with the outbreak, they realize this is a great way to corral a bunch of people, quarantine them against their rights, and if they all get sick and die, then we don't have to deal with the homeless people. That's how they're thinking of this. It appears to be the first case in Nashville of police making an arrest to enforce coronavirus restrictions enacted by the local government. So the police are enforcing this now. This is no longer a if they will or if they won't. They are. The Tennessean is not naming the man to protect his privacy, and because the charge is a misdemeanor. So if it were a felony, they'd have to announce who it was, but it's a misdemeanor, so they don't. According to an arrest affidavit, a 39-year-old man was taken to the Nashville Fairgrounds on Monday and placed under quarantine by the Metro Nashville Public Health Department because he had tested positive for the coronavirus. So could have been a false positive, could have been an authentic positive, but either way, they removed him from his home. They did not take him to a hospital. They brought him to the frickin' fairgrounds. Now, is he being treated there? No. You just have to live there in a homeless encampment. You've been tested positive for corona. Now you're going to go live in the homeless encampment. So he hops the fence. He says, well, fuck all this because I'm an American citizen. I don't have to do this. And this isn't some Stasi Nazi camp where you can keep me. And this certainly isn't, where we're keeping Japanese people during World War II in awful concentration camps. So we're not doing this anymore. He hops the fence. Health officials told the man he could not leave until he was cleared, but on Thursday he jumped that fence and he headed north on Nolensville Road. The affidavit states he was stopped, arrested by Metro Nashville Parks Police by a city cemetery nearly 2 miles from where he had been quarantined. So he's on feet running for 2 miles for freedom. Metro Parks charged the man with a single count of escape from a penal institution. And that's where you got to pause this and say, these are supposed to be quarantines for your health and safety. And if he doesn't have a home to go to, it would make sense that you couldn't send him to a shelter because he's positive for COVID and the shelters are supposed to be clear of any COVID, which I doubt. But if they're supposed to be, then maybe you send him to a hospital. But you can't put all of these sick people with no treatment in a fairground with no access to actual public health, and it's being run by public health. So of course these people are going to leave because they're getting no help there. They're getting no treatment there. They're being told they have to live there for an indefinite amount of time against their will and against their constitutional rights. So he hops the fence. I don't blame him. 2 miles away, they pick him back up. The spokesman, Brian Todd, for the Metro Health Department said that the law empowers the police to arrest anyone who violates an infectious disease quarantine. The laws are not specific to residents of homeless shelters and could also be used to arrest someone who violates a Metro Health order to remain in a quarantine at their home or at a hospital. The arrest highlights the difference between people merely advised to remain at home and those who are ordered into a quarantine. Residents across Nashville have been instructed by the mayor to remain in their home as much as possible. But those who venture outside don't face arrest. However, residents who test positive for coronavirus have been ordered into quarantine and the police will enforce them to stay in those quarantines. Are we going to set a legal precedent here? A de facto precedent? allowing the police to corral anyone that they say is a marked man. You've tested positive for this, or you've shown positive for this, or your social media tested positive for this, whatever this is, and then corral you up and bring you to a fairground and allow you to die there if you don't see proper care. What are we going towards here? These camps don't look safe. They're not smart. You're having people jump in the fence. They're homeless. You'd think, I mean, I know a lot of people in Grand Rapids who, when you go through town, you see the homeless populations. They're not clamoring to leave the safe area. So if the safe area that you know on the Hart side or of Grand Rapids or anywhere else, if you know that there's a safe area near a shelter, that's where you're all going to stay. Why are people trying to leave these quarantine areas if they think they're supposedly safe? Meanwhile, you go back to all these major cities across the country that are kicking out all of these homeless people that forever they've been telling you, these are super safe camps. These are super, super safe. We're going to hand out 500,000 free needles for you to shoot up your drugs in the street and leave the needles behind. That's how safe it is. In fact, is that a needle right there on the ground next to that chair? And anyways, now all of a sudden with the COVID, hey, a faster way to kill off these people. Let's go put them in camps and get them all sit next to each other and not treat any of them. That's what we're seeing. That's what the nurse in New York is talking about, where she says over and over again that they're killing patients in the hospital. And now you got people showing up at fairgrounds being told that they're going to stay there indefinitely under quarantine against their will, against their constitutional rights. So you tell us, are we abusing the homeless people here or what? COVID camps? Really?